Good evening, everybody, and welcome along to this edition of LiR Confidential on lirmedia.tv. We have a text line, it's 089 444 9525. And to confuse you further, you can email us at info@lirmedia.tv. And I'm absolutely delighted to have the chairman of Democrats in Ireland, Carija, is it Ihus or Ihus?
Ihus, yep.
Ihus. I got it right in one. Now, Carija, when I saw Carija's name written down when Mary contacted her for this program, Carija, where did that name come from, Carija?
It is Norwegian, and my parents are fifth generation from Norway. So they had a decision to make, and they decided pretty much all of my cousins as well, we all have Norwegian names.
And what part of the States did you grow up in?
I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. My parents are originally from Wisconsin, up near Madison.
Wisconsin, Atlanta, Georgia. I'm just doing the geography in my head. So what was it like growing up in Atlanta? Were you politically aware, a household, or did it matter much?
I think that my parents weren't particularly politically active at all. They just kind of went along with what was going on. They always voted, and they always had an interest in politics. I will say that my dad was pretty liberal. He was liberal even back in the 60s. He took pleasure in marching with some of the civil rights movements and stuff. He graduated from high school in 1969, and he was also an Eagle Scout, and he did a lot in the community. He moved from Eagle Scouts to working for the Boy Scouts, so was always politically minded in that he tried to help better the community and the people and stuff like that. So while he wasn't politically active, I think he was more liberal and aware of trying to help communities. He helped a lot of the at-risk boys in inner city Chicago and things at different points with the Boy Scouts Council there. And I think growing up, that was something that he very much instilled in me, was making sure that I could better the community and better the people that I was around, and the activism that he kind of had and that I have are different, but kind of along the same lines, in that I was aware of what was going on in the US. I always voted. It was very much something that was instilled in me, and kind of that justice and making sure that people are treated equally and things like that. And I kind of became, I'll say, politically aware and more active in about 2008. I was living in Germany and decided that I was going to volunteer to help Americans abroad become registered to vote and become active with being able to vote. And that was the year that Obama came to Germany and made a speech at the Siegessäle before he was elected president the first time, president the first time. He was still a senator.
So would you say that young people of your age group heightened their awareness or became extra aware of issues and on politics in general, because it's generally left to old fogies like me, politics, but I'm sure in your case, when Obama brought in, I think he brought in a whole wave of young people into being politically aware. Whether they voted for him or not, I don't know, but I'm just saying that I think it resonated with people like yourself. You were in university or education. Were you active, and your friends around you active anyway?
It wasn't university for me, actually. I was working in Germany at the time. I was working for an international company at the time, and they had moved me to Germany.
Yeah.
And I think that it kind of was one of the calling of, for me, it was kind of that moment where I was like, you know what, if I don't get involved, things aren't going to change. And I was very, very interested in Obama himself and in what he had to say. He often came away with, we have to be the change that we want to see. If we're not getting involved, and if we're not being that change, and we're not, saying, I don't like how things are run, then nothing's going to happen, and it's never going to happen, And so that kind of, I want to say it kind of resonated with me, and it did, and it still does to this day. And I think that it's very true, regardless of what political party that you are, that if you're not working towards, or you don't want to voice what you want to see, whether it's in it's in Ireland or whether it's in the US, and you don't say, I think this needs to change, then it never will, because you're not voicing what you want to see the outcome to be. And a lot of times it's, our voice is our vote as much as it is us standing up and saying, I don't like police brutality. I don't like the way this is being run. I don't like the way that's being run, and so it did instill in me that. When I moved to Ireland 10 years ago, I wasn't initially active in Democrats Abroad Ireland. I kind of went, okay, well, it's there. I know it's there.
Yeah.
I think about 2014 or so, I was again a little bit active, kind of went to a few meetings here and there. And then in 2016, I kind of became very, very much more active, and decided that if Trump could be elected, then there was no reason that I couldn't stand to be on the executive committee for Democrats Abroad Ireland, and worked my way through to where I got elected chair this last April for Democrats Abroad Ireland.
Yeah, and were you involved in that election, which is the closest one we've had to at this time? And obviously we'd have a different view of politics in America from this side than if you were living there. I know that myself. We wouldn't.
Oh yes.
We wouldn't be aware of all the nuances that goes on from state to state, because all the states are different, as we all know.
Yeah.
You have red and blue states, which I hate, but anyway, that's another day. So when Clinton was put forward by the Democrats to fight the last election, I thought, and a lot of people like me thought, that the Democratic Party had made a huge mistake. I'm not saying this afterwards. We said it beforehand, that she was not liked in America. She was not a popular person, a popular politician. And we felt that no matter who the Republicans put up against her, they had a great chance. What do you think yourself?
Personally, I'm going to tell you, I did not dislike her, and I do not dislike her. I initially was a Bernie supporter, and that's because I thought Bernie's platform and the progressiveness of Bernie was much more my thing. I'm much more progressive than Hillary ever put forward. And that's me on a personal level.
And I thought Bernie Sanders connected, not Carija, I thought Bernie Sanders connected from this end, looking back over, he connected very forcibly with young people.
He also connected very well with those of us that live abroad. He had a lot of policies and things where, if you look at, for example, the Medicare for All and, some of those platforms that he had with workers' rights and minimum wage, increase to being a living wage, a lot of his policies at the time were considered radical for the United States, but for Europe are quite normal and don't even go as far as most of the ones in Europe go. So for what you see, for those of us that live abroad, a lot of his policies resonated because we already live under them here, if that makes any sense. Like, we already have, a public healthcare system here in Ireland.
Yes.
They have, there are workers' rights here. You do have a lot longer on unemployment, whereas in the US, most people only get 6 weeks unemployment. Imagine losing your job and having 6 weeks to find the next one.
And does that?
And that's it. That has a huge influence. State to state? It can change from state to state, but the federal mandated is only 6 to 8 weeks, depending. Now, under coronavirus, they did extend it to 12, but really 3 months in a situation like this isn't very long at all,
Well, we are generally speaking in Europe and in Ireland far more progressive in workers' rights and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Than they are in America.
Absolutely. And for me, that was why Bernie Sanders resonated with me at the time and continues to. I think he's a fantastic senator. That being said, when Hillary Clinton won the majority of the vote, through the primaries and stuff like that, I have no problem with Hillary Clinton in that I think that she is an extremely capable leader. I thought she had the education. I still do. I think she has the ability to speak carefully. I think she had the right people that she could put in the right places to lead the nation. And she had a good platform that she would be able to go forward with in both the House and the Senate to get legislation passed.
And why do you think she lost the election?
I think the reason that she lost the election, honestly, I mean, well, she won at the popular vote. She lost
That's
in the
that's
electoral college.
yeah. Well, it's irrelevant.
So,
That's
well,
irrelevant.
yeah, I mean, she lost in the electoral college. So,
Al Gore won the popular vote, and
indeed, and he lost
and
in
he
the
didn't become
courts.
president. So
He
I mean,
lost in the courts. Yeah, I mean, what I think, one thing that detracted from Hillary was that it's very hard for Americans and well, people in general to separate the fact that I don't like her versus I'm hiring her to do a job. Do you know? I
yeah,
don't have to like you in order to say that you are the most qualified to do this job.
no,
And
it's not a
most
beauty
people
contest.
cannot
It's not a beauty
separate
contest. Yeah,
that.
yeah,
And so people, quote unquote, liked Donald Trump, which I think a lot of people are regretting that now, in my opinion. But, people liked Donald Trump because he was forceful and he was shocking and he
you
was,
know,
whatever that Trump is.
the impression
But,
we got here at
you
this
know,
time was one of the reasons that Donald Trump got elected is people were sick and tired of politicians, no matter who they were. And they said, this guy is not a politician. This guy is primarily a businessman, and he has no truck with any of what we call the political family of favoritism and all of that goes with it. So
mhm.
I think that was one reason that he.
It's very possible. Yeah, I mean, but I like you asked why Hillary didn't win, and I can say
Yes,
that I think is the reason, in my opinion. It wasn't her policies, it wasn't her platform, it wasn't that she was unprepared, it wasn't her health, it wasn't, that she was a bad speech maker or a bad debater. It was literally they could not separate that. I don't want to sit down and have a beer with her because I don't like her as a person,
yeah.
but I need to hire her for a job. And I think that went against her. Well, that, and
Great.
I think there is an undercurrent for some people of misogyny in the US to where they're like, I can't have a woman president. We can't
Yeah.
have a woman
Well, there was some
president,
of that, you're right. But
Oh, yeah.
funny enough, women didn't vote for her either.
Well, I think, yeah, I mean, I think it's a mix of reasons, but I think those are the couple. I
But
don't think women can say, I don't think we're ready for a woman president
well,
necessarily, but,
you're
they
right.
would find another reason why they didn't like
Uh,
her
I
as a
suppose
person or
we
whatever.
could list loads of reasons.
Yeah.
But
But I
I
mean, I
think
think a lot of them come down to her personality,
now coming down now to, and how do you get organized? I mean, obviously, is there a register now if you're a Democrat in Ireland, you can register?
You can register to vote regardless of what political party that you are by going to votefromabroad.org. The deadlines for brand new voter registration start October 5th when 21 states say that you can't register as a new voter anymore. But if you have already registered as a voter, that same site will let you request an overseas ballot. Votefromabroad.org is completely nonpartisan, and anyone can go there that's an American citizen that turns 18 or older to get registered.
Right. No.
Democrats Abroad Ireland, we have been promoting that site and we have been doing a lot of voter registration all over Ireland this year. We've been in 10 different counties in 8 weeks. And trying to help Americans get registered. You don't have to do it with us in person, obviously, but there are people that, they need help or they have questions or they want to have us walk them through how to register,
And
5-step process. And, that's what we're doing is trying to help them get registered. So
that's fantastic. And LiR Confidential is a program here on LiRmedia.tv, and I'm delighted that we're speaking to the chairman of Democrats in Ireland, Carija Ihus. I like saying that name, that know that I got it right. But Carija, just getting on to where we are today, are you disappointed in the Democratic Party that they didn't pick Kamala Harris to be their candidate?
no, I think that the votes went where they needed to go according to the entire population for the primaries. I think that they did a great job in choosing Bernie Sanders. I think he's very clear. He has experience. He has a platform that we all input into. To give you a little bit of background for Democrats Abroad Ireland, we act like a county party, and the Democrats Abroad global group acts as what would be a state party in the Democratic National Committee. And we together have a meeting that it's a big political conference Democrats Abroad does And we sit there and we go through and have teams that write what we would like to see in our platform, and then they write a platform for Democrats abroad, but then that also feeds into the Democratic National Committee. Every single state does this as well, and then that gets fed up, and they, at the big convention that we saw back in August, they take those and they go, okay, Kentucky wants this, you know, Missouri wants this, blah, 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 all the way through. And they come up with one massive platform that the Democrats are going to run on for the year. And so we had a lot of input into that. Some of our ideas got put into it. Some of our ideas did not. Like, we didn't get a whole lot of traction on our taxation issues for living abroad, because, of course, Americans are one of two countries that get taxed on their citizenship, not on where they're living. It's not residency based. We get taxed globally on all of our income globally.
Because you're an American.
Yeah, just because we're American. As soon as you're an American citizen, any income that you have, you get taxed on in the US and here. There are some exemptions, there are some tax policies, but
yeah, but by and large,
by and large, it is a concern for people who live abroad, because it is a portion of our income potentially that, you know, is getting paid to the US.
Absolutely.
But some of those did not get put in the platform, so we're a bit disappointed with that. But it doesn't mean that we're going to stop lobbying for that. We are continuing to lobby for that. We've been lobbying for that for years. And I think because we still have a platform, and because it is such a strong platform, I think that Biden will really drive home on the issues and get things done. He is what I would call a uniter and not a divider.
And do you think that the Democrats have made a mistake in picking Joe Biden again? Probably one of the oldest presidents in the history of the United States.
No, I think he's qualified. I think he is human. I think he's personable. I think,
for instance, there was one line I read in the media. I don't know whether you want to address it or not. 47 years in the Senate and he's done nothing.
They can say 47 years in the Senate and he's done nothing, but it's not true. You know, it's not. Look, there are, you know, 200 senators. There are 200 senators in there. There are, you know, 500.
Yeah, but there's only one of them running for president.
Right, but he doesn't get to do everything. Like, it's not just, he doesn't get to say, oh, I want to do this in the Senate and then ram it through. Do you know what I mean? There's 199 other people that have to vote on this. It's the same thing with the House. You know, they both have to agree. You know, there's 500 people in the plus people in the House, you know, and it takes both of them to get together and do this. So he has done things, but saying he's 47 years and hasn't done anything, I disagree. He's done a lot.
I agree with you, but that's the headline.
You know, and that's misinformation. I'm not going to say it's fake news, because I don't think it's fake news. You know, fake news is something else, but you know, it is a bit of misinformation. You know,
all news is good news. But do you think? I mean, I don't know much about the man, obviously, you know. But do you think that he's competent, health-wise, to run for president?
Of course, yeah, I do.
You do?
I do, absolutely. You know, I keep hearing things about, oh, he's got dementia. He doesn't. He's shown that in the debates. He's shown that in his speeches. He doesn't. I think sometimes what people are interpreting as dementia because he speaks slowly is not the case. I think it's because he has a stutter. And one of the techniques for having a stutter is that you slow down, you speak calmly, you think ahead for what you want to say, and then you enunciate so that you're not tripping over your words. And years of training has gotten him to be able to speak in front of people, but he still has those techniques because he still has.
But surely, Carija, a 79-year-old man almost, does not represent the future for America, does he?
I think he can represent the future for America.
Come on now,
you know, I do. Absolutely. You know, it is possible. And I think it's all about getting the right people in the right positions, getting the people that, and acknowledging what you know about and what you need to know about and what you can learn and who you can learn from. So yeah, he's 79. Bernie Sanders is just as old as he is. Trump is just as old as he is.
Trump is 74.
They're still in their 70s.
Oh, they are?
They're still, you know, my grandparents' age, my parents' age.
Well, I was up visiting my dad yesterday, and he's 90.
Yeah.
And he's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm
But
just thinking,
I mean, it all depends on who you put where and who you're willing to listen to when you need advice.
and
Part of
also
being
I agree.
president is admitting, I don't know everything. I need
No,
to
I
go to the
agree with you
experts.
there. It's the act of being able to delegate the responsibility for a
Hmm.
particular policy platform
Exactly.
or position. Those people, we recognize
Hmm.
down through the years some of the. I remember President
Absolutely.
Kennedy coming to
Yeah.
visit Ireland. That's how far back I remember the
Yeah.
presidency.
If he were younger, say if he were, Barack Obama when he started, or, Kennedy when he started, people argued that they were too young, that they had no life experience. That's the argument for them. So to say that Biden is too old or to whatever, I think that that's just irrelevant. It's all about who you put in the places to give you the best information to make the best possible decisions and choices for the
And
country. And I think
Carija,
Biden can do that.
I'm delighted you took time out to talk to us, and we don't intend to give you a tough time, but we have to. But
I'm here for a tough time. It's
I
okay.
tell you, well, I'll tell you one thing: you're well able. But I'm just saying that, not be condescending or anything. But do you honestly think that Biden will win?
I think that Biden can win. Yes. I think that if he will win, it's going to depend on who goes to the polls and votes.
So yes,
He's only going to win if people vote for him. That is ultimately the reality. It is the
and
reality for any political candidate out there. What I can tell you is that we are seeing over 60% increase since between, like, if you look at our numbers in 2016 and you look at our numbers in 2020,
yeah,
we are seeing over 60% increase in people that have registered and request their ballots for Ireland right now. I can tell
before I
you that
forget,
on a global level, for votefromabroad.org, numbers wise, we have 200 times more requests than we did in 2016 for ballots. That tells me that, if you look in 2016, we had about 1 million votes from abroad. We've got a little over 2.1 million votes potentially that are out there right now. If all of them vote, it is a very real possibility that Biden can win if all of them vote. Now, I can't guarantee they're going to vote for Biden. I don't know who they're going to vote for. Vote from abroad is nonpartisan. So does it mean they're going to all vote Democratic? Does it mean they're all going to vote, independent or for Trump? No, it doesn't. It just means, this is what we're seeing for numbers. People are very interested. People are very motivated. Look at the lines in Virginia when the polls open. Look at the lines all over the country for absentee voting and for these things. It means that people are excited and they're trying to vote
right?
and they're trying to get it done. And that's ultimately what's going to be the deciding factor, you
And
know.
where were you in the last time when the counts and the votes were coming in?
For 2016, I was here in Dublin and I was at the Arlington Hotel at the election night party for Hillary Clinton, helping to host that. And then at 2018, I was here as well.
And
And,
so where will you be now on November? Is November the 5th?
November 3rd, the
November
night of
3rd.
November 3rd.
Where will
Yeah.
you be now and all the lads with you on November the 3rd when you'll be
Um,
watching the state?
Well, that's a bit up in the air at the minute, to be honest, with the way the lockdowns and stuff or the restrictions are going here in Dublin. We
Oh, I
want to
forgot.
have an election night party.
Yeah.
And if we're still under level 3 restrictions here in Dublin, then obviously we're not going to have an in-person election night party. The last two that we've had, one was 400 people, one was about 250, and so we can't have that kind of a large social gathering. It's just not going to be feasible with what's going on with the restrictions if they don't get lifted and people don't wear masks. That being said, though, we will have something over Zoom and have a Zoom party for our members and work on trying to do, like, you watch it at home, but everybody's on Zoom to kind of talk. That's one of the things that we're looking
Now
at
that
to do.
we
Um,
intend to, here in LiR Media, we intend to go on through the night, that
mhm.
night. So we'll probably, if you don't mind, give you a call or something.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
Probably
absolutely.
when maybe half the states are in, when
Mhm.
there's a sort of a pattern. Well, there's never a pattern. I think to be very close election myself. Are you more hopeful than confident?
I'm hopeful and confident. Let me tell you, even if Joe Biden for some reason doesn't win the presidency, I think that we are going to have a lot of races to celebrate. In 2018, the majority of races across America were won by only 1% separation in the vote.
You're
if you look
talking
at the
about for
number
the
of
Senate and Congress, is it?
for Senate, for Congress, for houses of in each state, for like state legislature seats, for
Governors and
local
all of that,
council
yeah.
seats,
Yeah.
for all of those, most of those were won by less than 1% separation in the votes when
So
you
it's
actually
very
got down
close.
to the count. Extremely close. We're talking hundreds of votes, maybe even a couple of thousands of votes.
You're right, yeah. You're
There
right.
are
Because there was a couple of
70,000.
states won. I was looking at the
Yeah,
statistics. There was a couple of states won by hundreds of votes, 4, 5, 6, 7, 800 of votes. So it's very, very small altogether.
yeah,
So before we finish, Carrie, and I'm delighted that you took the time out, and we will touch base with you again anyway within the next month before the election comes up. And obviously, we do wish the president a speedy recovery from his illness, you know.
absolutely. Yes,
And
we
that
don't wish
goes without,
anybody to have COVID,
no,
that's
no,
for
God,
sure.
no, that goes without saying. But from your perspective, so you're confident. Is this the word from the Democrats? They're confident.
I'm confident that we'll have a good outcome, you know. I think so. I
Yeah.
think if you look at the numbers of people that are asking for ballots, and especially from abroad, we're going to have really good results. You know, we're going to see something good happen here, and we're going to find really positive things to focus on, because we have more women candidates running, we have more minority candidates running than ever before, and more, the Democratic Party is looking like the actual faces in America than what I think that the Republican Party looks like. You know, the diversity of our candidacy and our population and our, you know, LGBTQ caucuses, our Hispanic caucuses, our women's caucuses, our, you know, military caucuses, all of these things, just the diversity of it. You know, we've got the Global Black Caucus, we've got all of these things that are caucuses, that are small groups of people that are out there that are leaning Democrat and that are, you know, learning from each other and promoting things that help these communities, are extraordinary. And I think that that is what's going to move Democrats forward. That's going to be what appeals to everyone. And that is where we're going to have the positive outcomes once voters show up to the polls. You
Well,
know,
I tell
I
you,
have my concerns with the Republican Party, and that is one of them, is that they just don't have the diversity that's needed.
and for this edition of LiR Confidential, I'll tell you, Carija, they could do worse than having you along as a policy advisor in the White House, no matter who gets in. You'd never know, there might be a job, as they say, on the hill. But from this edition of LiR Confidential on LiRmedia.tv, and from Caija Ihus, Chairman of Democrats in Ireland, thank you very much for joining us, and we will catch up with you again in a few weeks' time.
Thanks, Pat, for having me. I appreciate it.
Bye-bye now, and
Bye.
take care.